Do you love movies? So do I. What's up, y'all? It's KB, and I love movies, inviting you to listen to The Conversation, a film podcast where passion meets perspective and opinion. From the old school to the new, I invite a guest on to discuss the movies that thrill us, challenge us, break our hearts, or even blow our minds. There's always new episodes dropping wherever you get your podcasts. So join the conversation. We don't just watch movies. We love talking about them too. The Conversation with KB Loves Movies, a part of Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network.
Hey, this is Jason Kleberg from the Force 5 podcast, a show that forces a guest to come up with a movie-themed top 5 list topic, and then we reveal our picks on air. Top 5 heist films, top 5 tearjerkers, top 5 movie dogs. Every show you'll be asking yourself, what would be on my list? Guests include directors, screenwriters, actors, podcasters, musicians, authors, and even a professional wrestler. Subscribe to the Force 5 podcast, and you won't just be a listener, you'll be a list nerd. The Force 5 podcast, available wherever you're listening now.
Tony's father has been away a long time. Now, he's coming home. Xtro has returned. Once a man, he is now something more than human. Indestructible, ever-changing, evil. His mission, to avenge, to possess, to destroy.
Why did you come back?
I came back for you.
Oh my God! Joe!
Xtro, bearing powers of black magic from deep space.
If you think hard about something, you can make it happen. Use it when you need it.
Xtro. Some extraterrestrials aren't friendly. From New Line Cinema, rated R.
Welcome to Wake Up Heavy, my weird dad's weird podcast about weird movies.
Hello, and welcome back to Wake Up Heavy Recollections of Horror. This is Mark Begley, your host. Did you miss me? I've been gone for almost 6 weeks. I think that's around the time of the last uploaded episode. I had my little June hiatus. As soon as I started it, I realized, next year I should probably really do this in July when it's much, much hotter here in Fresno. And actually, we haven't had that bad of a summer. Full disclosure, though, during these hot months, especially July and August, I may very well be doing these in my skivvies.
That doesn't sound right.
Just some news and information up front here at the beginning of this episode. June, I basically reposted all of the past episodes, or the ones that are still available, and was surprised at how many plays the podcast got. You know what, I just saw someone post the other day that they had reached 1 million downloads for their podcast, and that, to me, is astronomical and won't be happening to this show for probably another 20 years. But anyway, I was happy to see that people were still listening without new episodes, and that was one of the reasons I took the hiatus. You kind of get addicted to that, the plays, and to generate more plays, you need more content. And I just felt like I was putting too much stuff out. Not that any of those episodes are bad or were done for, the wrong reasons. Whether they're bad or not is up to you guys, not me. I just felt like, okay, let's stop. You don't have to create a new episode every time you get an idea. Plus, June is rough. It's the end of the school year for my daughter. She has her dance recital stuff at the beginning of the month. So it was just a nice time to take a break, watched a bunch of movies, one of which I'll be talking about sometime this month with another person who also liked the movie a lot. Then I had kind of just dealt with what I wanted to do next, and I had actually started working on the Season 2, Episode 3 episode and stopped and did a little bit of work on the anniversary episode, which I will bring up in a minute here, and then had an idea about doing an episode on Stephen King movies. I was thinking of Phantasm for some reason, and how part of why I liked it so much as a kid is it gave me the feeling of a Stephen King short story, just the kind of weird aspect of it, and how a lot of his early work in Night Shift that had previously been published in men's magazines were just, probably exercises for him, writing exercises, and take a weird idea and flesh it out and see what happens. And that kind of seems like how Phantasm feels to me. And so then I started thinking about all the movies that I watched and all the books that I read kind of concurrently back at that same time. So I may do a couple episodes on mostly 80s Stephen King movies and maybe compare and contrast or just rate them, where I saw them then, how I view them now. A lot of them have changed in popularity in my brain over the past 30-something years, so that's another idea. And then also upcoming is I've been following a guy on Twitter who is trying to sort out the rights to the film The Haunting of Julia so that he can get the film remastered, and I'm assuming in an attempt to get a Blu-ray release or even just a 35 millimeter print release of the film. And so I had asked him if he had done any podcast interviews because I wanted to go and listen to him, and he said he hadn't. So I took that chance to invite him to be on the show to discuss that work and research that he has been doing regarding that. So that should be happening sometime later this month as well. And then in August, for sure, the anniversary show, I think about midway through the month is when I first uploaded the introductory episode and the Phantasm episode. So I'm shooting for around that time to do that. So you can be a part of that if you're interested. Send me a question or a comment on any social media platform, or go to wakeupheavy.com and use the suggestion box. If I don't get any questions from listeners, which I'm fully anticipating, I have questions that I've written and will have my daughter ask, much like I did with the introductory episode. So either way, there'll be an anniversary show regarding what's happened over this first full year of Wake Up Heavy. So all of these different things coming up kind of is why I stopped working on the full-length episode for the season. I decided to start off after the hiatus with, a short one with a why didn't I rent this episode? Because I may need to get back into the groove a little bit. Other than 1 or 2 days maybe of preliminary recording for a couple things, I haven't done much at all. So I got to get my brain back into this. And this was kind of a happy accident, a nice little confluence of events that brought this episode about. So my sister and her family went to San Francisco last week, and they stopped by Amoeba Records in SF. My sister texted me if there were any movies that I wanted them to look for. And of course, as happens, my mind went blank. And I stopped myself and I thought, okay, think of the movies that you've done or talked about, even if just in passing over the course of the show, that, are hard to find. So I thought of Let's Scare Jessica to Death. I thought of The Haunting of Julia. Asked her about those. She said no luck. And then I think I came up with Eyes of Fire. For that one, I said, even if it's on VHS, because I honestly can't remember if it's had a DVD release. I know it hasn't had a Blu-ray release. And then I thought of The Reflecting Skin, but that is going to have a Blu-ray release here finally coming up. And then I said Xtro. And about 2 minutes later, I get a text back with a picture of my nephew holding a VHS version of Xtro. And I said, okay, get it for me, please. So they did. Now, loyal listeners of the show have heard this spiel before, but I am not a VHS nostalgist. I don't care to watch films on video. Obviously, that was a big part of my childhood, and VHS revolutionized home movie watching. It brought tons of movies to me personally. I loved going to the video store. I loved renting movies. I loved watching them. But ultimately, it's the shittiest way to watch a movie other than maybe on your iPhone, right, David Lynch?
Now, if you're playing the movie on a telephone, you will never in a trillion years experience the film. You'll think you have experienced it, but you'll be cheated. It's such a sadness that you think you've seen a film on your fucking telephone. Get real.
Having said all that, this is kind of the perfect movie to watch on VHS to do for a Why Didn't I Rent This episode. Because I very distinctly, unlike a lot of the other episodes in this subseries, remember why I didn't rent this. And it had to do with the box art, or the cover. And there were two things on the cover specifically that kind of put me off of the movie. The tagline, "Some extraterrestrials aren't friendly," and the image of the alien that they used. Now, the tagline is an obvious jab at E.T., which is a movie that I really liked back then. I saw it twice in the theater, once in its initial run, and again when they re-released it. And a little history lesson here.
It's time for another tangent.
Back before the home video market exploded, studios would re-release big budget films a year or so after their initial release. And so I saw E.T. when it came out, and then whenever they re-showed it, sometime within the next year or two. And, of course, once video came out and became so popular, there was no real need to do that anymore. You got money through the video market. So anyway, I didn't go see movies more than once very much back then as a kid. Even the Star Wars movies, I don't think I saw more than once in the theater. But again, for whatever reason, that tagline put me off. I just assumed that we had a nasty, ugly little alien creature causing problems instead of our cute, friendly little E.T. helping our preteen and teen heroes out. And then the image of the alien on the box is pretty accurate actually to what's in the movie, but it's rough looking, and it is in the movie itself, and it just didn't appeal. For whatever reason, it didn't work for me. So I came to the movie a few years ago through Horror Movie A Day, like a lot of the other ones that I've talked about. And the description was, of course, nothing like what I imagined the movie was. And when I finally watched it, I was completely blown away and realized that at 13 or 14, this might have been a total mindfuck for me. It's one of those strange little outlier movies that has such a charming, odd appeal to it that works so much for me. Since my sister went through the trouble of bringing this home for me, I'm going to read the plot description on the back of the video box. This is a 1992 release. And I was really hoping for some fun previews at the beginning of the tape, but it was mostly just sales pitches for Billy Crystal movies, which you could get at the low price of $19.95. This is when videos were now being marketed for sale as opposed to rental. Yeah, so you could get City Slickers for $19.95 and When Harry Met Sally for $19.95, or a box set for, I don't remember what the price was. And they did also have a little preview for The Graduate, which was being released in widescreen. So fancy. Anyway, here is the plot description. Sam Philip Sayer from the Rocky Horror Picture Show is a scientist mysteriously abducted by evil extraterrestrials. Only his young son, Tony, witnesses the bizarre kidnapping. Sam returns to Earth 3 years later as a monstrous alien. He's back to claim his son for his new homeland and to infect the blood of random Earthlings. Strange powers are transmitted to Tony, enabling him to animate his toys into lethal weapons. Together, father and son ravage anyone who crosses their path. Same difference. Xtro features Miriam Diabo, The Living Daylights, and is directed by Harry Bromley Davenport. Xtro 2, The Second Encounter. I'm not sure about that credit for Philip Sayer and the Rocky Horror Picture Show. I couldn't find him listed as being in that film. And I think it may be that he was in the stage version, the Rocky Horror Show, because he was a theater actor. And I also don't know that it's mentioned in the movie at all, whether Sam is a scientist. That seems, I completely missed it, or that's just created for this box. And a few years after this particular video release, the second sequel, the third entry, Xtro 3 Watch the Skies, would come out, also directed by Harry Bromley Davenport. Now, I don't know if he did the music for the sequels, but he did do the music for Xtro, and it's that real cheesy Casio synth sound that gets spoofed a lot when people make 80s retro style movies. It is pretty bad. And the movie itself gets tossed into the so bad it's good category by a lot of people, but I don't. Some of the effects are obviously super low budget. It rises above that. It's got that touch of what the hell is going on? Who thought of this thing? And what am I watching? That, to me, rises above that so bad it's good label. So the movie starts with Sam being abducted. He and his son Tony are at their summer cottage and playing fetch with their dog. Sam throws the stick up over the house for some reason. I don't know if the dog's supposed to chase it onto the roof. And apparently causes a rift in the time-space continuum. Something happens when you throw this stick in the air. It freezes. It explodes. There's a bright flashing light, and then everything goes dark and a big wind kicks up. Little Tony is freaked out, and all of a sudden, Dad is gone. We immediately cut to the next scene, which is apparently 3 years later. Tony looks not a day older. They are now in their London flat, and Mom has moved on to a new beau, and we have Annalise, played by Miriam
That doesn't sound right.
Miriam Dabo. I always want to add that accent, Diabo, but I think it's just Dabo. I probably said it incorrectly earlier. She is the au pair and quite often has a male visitor. She supplies the requisite TNA and full frontal female nudity in the film, which probably would have been reason enough for me to re-rent this multiple times when I was 14 or 15 years old. an alien ship returns to Earth, and I think this is supposed to take place around their old cottage, if I'm remembering things correctly. The film is a tad confusing. Sam returns. His whole return is absolutely amazing. It is some of the greatest low-budget special effects ever put to film. The creature that he returns as emerges from the ground, and it's one of those deals where it is a stunt performer flipped over and walking on all fours, kind of like the spider crawl in The Exorcist, if you've ever seen the additional scenes that were cut out of the original release of that film. And it's creepy as all get out. This is one of the first what the fuck moments in the movie when he emerges and gets hit by a car that ends up being his mode of transportation back to London after he has killed the driver and passenger of that vehicle. He makes his way to a country house where he breaks in and impregnates the woman that lives there. And this is where it gets kind of alien ripoff-ish. The alien penis
That doesn't sound right.
shoots out and attaches a sucker to her mouth, which is very reminiscent of the suckers that are used in Stranger Things. By the way, having just binged that third season, that immediately came to mind. And she goes through the fastest pregnancy ever. Now, the chest-bursting scene in Alien is iconic and amazing to this day. This birthing scene is the low-budget exploitation version of that. She becomes pregnant and her belly expands on screen within a matter of minutes. She then births a full-grown version of Sam. It's amazing, people. You gotta track this movie down however you can. If I knew how to copy this VHS and make it digital, I would do it and make it available until it got pulled down for copyright infringement. But I do not have the know-how to do that. But track it down for this scene alone. So Sam is now back, and he is telepathically connected to his son, Tony. Did I say? I'm getting their names confused, probably. Sam's the dad, Tony's the son. Tony has been having nightmares since his dad's disappearance. No one believes that he was abducted by aliens. They think he just ran off with another woman. One night, during one of his nightmares, his mom goes into his room to find him sweaty in bed, and as she pulls back the covers, he is covered in blood. This is the second what the fuck moment. And when asked about it, he says, "Dad sent it." Sam is still out of sorts. He makes a phone call to the house, but hasn't gained his speech back yet. Eventually, he tracks Tony down at school. Mom goes to pick him up, freaks out, finds them together, and realizes, okay, Dad's back in the picture. He needs to come stay with us. At one point, Tony sees his dad eating the snake eggs that his pet snake has just laid, and Sam has to explain that after his abduction, he has been changed and now needs different things to survive. Dad gives Tony the strangest, most uncomfortable hickey that's ever been put to film. It borders on inappropriate, but the special effects are, again, very low budget, but it works so well, and it's really gross and gloopy and strange, and now Tony has all the powers that his dad had. And he proceeds to turn a number of his toys into larger animated figures. And one of them is a clown, kind of a whirligig toy that he has. It becomes a dwarf clown that has a oversized yo-yo that is also a buzzsaw. And he dispatches of some of the people that Tony does not like in their flat. And then he has an Action Man figure. This is the UK version of G.I. Joe that he turns into a gigantic version of itself, to dispatch of the downstairs neighbor that he hates. Now, I don't want to destroy all the fun of the movie for you if you are able to track it down, so I won't go over the rest of the characters' fates. Suffice it to say that one of our female characters is turned into an alien egg-laying factory. She is cocooned and put over a tub and produces a number of these eggs, which are obviously water balloons filled with all manner of horrible things. Again, great special effects. I know they're balloons, but at one point there's a beating heart inside of it, and it's magical, which I think is the term that I would use to describe the movie as a whole. I really wish this movie was easier to find for you audience members. Unfortunately, it is not streaming anywhere, not even on YouTube. I don't know anything about torrenting, so if you do that, maybe you can find it there. That stuff freaks me out, so I don't get involved in it. I'm sorry that this isn't out there for everybody to watch, because it is an experience, and you should take a peep at it at least once in your life, doggone it. Other than the lovely Miss Dabo, I'm not really too familiar with any of the cast and crew from Xtro, and actually I'm more familiar with Olivia Dabo, Miriam's younger sister from her years on The Wonder Years. Bernice Steggers, who plays Tony's mom, Rachel, was in a movie that actually would qualify as a Why Didn't I Rent This episode. It's Lamberto Bava's 1980 film Macabre. And back in the old video rental days, I saw this as Frozen Terror. Give that a Google, Frozen Terror VHS cover or Frozen Terror 1980, and you might recognize that cover as well. It's kind of a spoilery cover, actually, but I remember seeing that a lot, and it was just one of those movies that looked like a real cheap exploitation film, and it is shitballs crazy. It is wacky, and I think it is on Prime currently, so in lieu of watching Xtro, you could check that out. But as far as I know, no one has appeared on an episode of Murder, She Wrote. I haven't seen any of the Xtro sequels, and I don't think I've seen any of other Davenport films. One notable thing about the movie is that it was an early release from New Line Cinema. Robert Shea is credited as a producer, and this was a couple years prior to A Nightmare on Elm Street being released. So, coming up in the near future, we have the Haunting of Julia episode. I will be throwing together some Stephen King episodes at some point, probably after the 1 year anniversary show or the 1 year anniversary show. And then this little side hot take project on Under the Silver Lake, which I don't think I mentioned the title of earlier. I'll be talking with a Twitter friend about that film. And I wish I knew what was happening with iTunes. If you haven't heard, they are splitting it up. You won't be able to find podcasts on iTunes anymore. It'll just strictly be for music, which is how it is on your iPhone already, if you have an iPhone. If you use an Android phone, I don't know what your options are. Excuse my ignorance on that. Yeah, so this might make it a little bit harder now to rate and review. Not that a whole bunch of people do it anyway. I guess if you're an iPhone user, just do it through Apple Podcasts. It may become more important now for people to do that. So if you are a friend, family member, new listener, old listener, take a second out of your day and at least give a rating. You can find Wake Up Heavy on my blog, wakeupheavy.com. You can play the episodes there. You can play it on SoundCloud, Google Play, Spotify, maybe on Spreaker. Still haven't sorted all that out. But the ratings and review, I think, generally happens through Apple Podcasts itself. Well, welcome back to me. Welcome back to you listeners. Thank you for listening as always. And do not forget to wake up heavy.